This book was insane, The Psychology of Money. I had it in my book list for a long time and kind of felt like I already knew the psychology of money. But I was very wrong. Let me quickly obtain a legal version of The Psychology of Money, and I'll share a few crazy ideas from this book, starting from the ones that have blown my mind just a little bit to the ones that have completely deep-fried it. Get something to drink, because by the end, your brain will be deep-fried as well. The first one, he says, focus less on specific individuals and case studies and more on broad patterns. Focusing on the top most successful people can be dangerous because chances are the more extreme their cases of success, the more it has been influenced by the extreme ends of luck factor, which we can't control ourselves. You'll get closer to actionable takeaways by focusing on broad patterns of success and failure. The more common the pattern, the more applicable it may be to your life. So this right here is quantity, and this right here is success. What the author is trying to say is that success often happens at the very tail end of quantity, which means that most successful things that you make, or YouTube videos, or companies in the world are right here, where there's very few of them, and the chances that you'll invest in a successful company are very low because there's just so little of them. However, these companies make up for the majority of losses that happen here. I've noticed the same with my YouTube channel. Most of my videos fall somewhere here, and there are only a few exceptions, a few great videos that drive the most views and money for my channel. Now, let's assume that you're on the wrong end of luck and you're not really lucky. That's why you shouldn't focus on these right here. These are just extraordinary, lucky events at the tail end of success, and focus on the broad patterns that can get you closer to this point, which means that you probably shouldn't look at Bill Gates or Steve Jobs when you're trying to start your own business. If you're not lucky, you're not going to land over here on this side of success. That means what you can do is try to maximize your success by analyzing what most successful companies or most successful people or most successful courses or videos on YouTube have in common, and those are the patterns that you can apply to yourself in order to maximize your chances of success. Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. Just an interesting thought. If you look back at your most horrible moments in life, failures where you thought it's all over and I'm a complete moron, probably those felt a lot bigger before in your head than when they actually happened. This is a quote from Seneca, and he said that we often suffer more in imagination than reality. We experience thousands of crises throughout our lifetimes, but most of them never happen. I shared this quote in my newsletter, and it's now one of my favorite quotes that I found in Sahil Bloom's newsletter. Never let your quest for more distract you from the beauty of enough. Sahil Bloom. That's a very great quote to live by. By the way, if you like topics like this, you can subscribe to my newsletter, which I currently send out once a month with cool ideas, things that I learned from books, apps, and websites that I find useful, and just general cool stuff. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Next, try to calculate this in your head. 8 plus 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 8. That's 72. Now try doing 8 times 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 8. That's 134,217,728. That's the nature of compounding. That is crazy. The author gives this crazy example. IBM made 3.5 megabyte hard drive in 1950s. By the 60s, things were moving into a few dozen megabytes. By the 70s, IBM's Winchester drive held 70 megabytes. Then, drives got exponentially smaller in size with more storage. A typical PC in the 90s held 200 to 500 megabytes. And then, wham, things exploded. In 2019, we have 100 terabyte hard drives. From 1950 to 1990, we gained 296 megabytes. From 1990 through today, we gained 100 million megabytes. If you were a technology optimist in the 50s, you may have predicted that practical storage would become 1,000 times larger, maybe 10,000 times larger if you were swinging for the fences. Few would have said 30 million times larger within my lifetime, but that's what happened. This is the nature of compounding. This is coming back to the first point. Fails are drivers of success. In business and investing, you fail by default. Only a very very few outsiders make up for all the fails, but they do make up for them. The next takeaway is that control over your time is the best dividend that money can pay. More than your salary, more than the size of your house, more than the prestige of your job, control over doing what you want, when you want to, with the people you want to, is the broadest lifestyle variable that makes people happy. Money's greatest intrinsic value, and this can't be overstated, is the ability to give you control over your time, to obtain bit by bit a level of independence and autonomy that comes from unspent assets that give you greater control over what you can do and when you can do it. A small amount of wealth means the ability to take a few days off work when you're sick without breaking the bank. Gaining that ability is huge if you don't have it. A bit more means waiting for a good job to come around after you get laid off, rather than having to take the first one you find. That can be life-changing. 6 months of emergency expenses means not being terrified of your boss because you know you won't be ruined if you have to take some time off to find a new job. When you don't have control over your time, you're forced to accept whatever bad luck is thrown your way. But if you have flexibility, you have the time to wait for no-brainer opportunities that fall in your lap. This is a hidden return on your savings. Savings in the bank that earn 0% interest might actually generate an extraordinary return if they give you the flexibility to take a job with a lower salary but more purpose, or wait for investment opportunities that come when those without flexibility turn desperate. Next takeaway. If you think having nice things will make you cool, think again. People value the thing you have, not you. When you see someone driving a nice car, you rarely think that, wow, that guy driving that car is so cool. He must be super respected. His taste is incredible. No, you think if I had that car, people would think that I'm cool. Subconsciously or not, people don't look at you even if you have nice things. They look at those things as a benchmark for their own desire to be liked and admired. Basically, if you have nice things, people don't care about you because you have those things. People care about the things you have because of themselves. They imagine themselves having those things, and it doesn't make you any more cool for having Gucci slippers. Maybe a little bit. Next, the definition of wealth is not to spend the money you have. Being a millionaire is not spending $1 million. It's having $1 million. Most people associate wealth with spending money on cars, big houses, designer clothes, Gucci slippers, but being wealthy is the opposite. It's not spending and having wealth. Wealth is an option not yet taken to buy something later. Its value lies in offering you options, flexibility, and growth to one day purchase more stuff than you could right now. Next, don't be rational. Be reasonable with your money. We're all emotional human beings, not computers or spreadsheets. Don't tell yourself that you're going to be rational with every money decision, because that's just not possible. It's okay to just be reasonable. If it's reasonable enough to put your money here, do it. If it seems unreasonable, don't do it. If you buy a stock in a company that you know nothing about, then when it goes down, it's going to be super hard to not sell it, because that's the psychology of money. You don't care about the company, you don't know what it does, and the only reason you bought it is because it was trending over time. The biggest predictor of the stock price is the stock price. But if you invest in a company that you believe in, that you actually trust and know a lot about, then it's going to be so much easier to weather those downturns and not sell when the stock market dips. Next, each of us know little, but we form a complete narrative that we believe is true. To a child, the world around them makes complete sense, as it does to a grown-up. A child may not know 90% of the things that an adult knows. A 2-year-old might not know what's a 401k, what's a salary, why people need jobs, yet when the child wanders around, it doesn't seem confused about the world. He has formed a narrative that works for him. He doesn't wander around in confusion. Whenever something happens, he just adds it to the things that he already knows and forms a new mental model of how the world works. A complete mental model that to him has no gaps. That's what we all do no matter our age. We don't know most stuff out there, yet we form a complete narrative in our heads about what's true and what's wrong. And this is a huge trap. We all want the complicated world that we live in to make sense. So we tell ourselves stories to fill in the gaps of what are effectively blind spots. There are things we know that we don't know, and the most important thing that we all miss is the things that we don't know we don't know. But in our minds, we form a complete narrative about the world, so we choose to ignore the things that we don't know. And this can be a huge problem. So looking at the world with an open mind can help you spot little deficiencies and blind spots in your thinking and help you make better decisions. Next up, illusion of control is more persuasive than the reality of uncertainty. Reality is just uncertain. There's entropy everywhere, but we choose an illusion of that reality in our heads because it seems that we have more control over it, which is of course just a mirage. So most people choose to believe the illusion of control rather than surrendering to the fact that uncertainty is everywhere and you can't predict most things. I hope this was useful to someone out there, and I'll see you in the next one.